All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly epic piece of mythological text. We're going to explore a stunningly beautiful divine landscape that abruptly, and I mean very abruptly, turns into a completely tense military standoff. It's a classic excerpt from ancient literature, and what's so great about it is how it perfectly balances this lush, otherworldly world building with very grounded, immediate human conflict. Now, notice how the text zooms in here. It's almost cinematic. We start way out with this breathtaking cosmic setting, a celestial lake. Then the lens narrows, and suddenly we see this massive, intimidating army of demon guards. And finally, the focus snaps directly onto a single, solitary warrior walking right into the middle of it all in disguise. It is a masterclass in setting up suspense, taking us from a macro, majestic environment straight into a highly specific, dangerous confrontation. So let's start with Section 1, Kuvera Celestial Lotus Lake. Let's really look at this setting. Just listen to the incredibly rich, ancient phrasing used here. We aren't just talking about a nice pond in the woods. This is a realm where the plant life itself is quite literally constructed from precious gems, golden lotuses with stalks of lapis lazulis. The text is deliberately painting a picture of a place so wealthy, so intensely divine, that organic life and priceless jewels are essentially the exact same thing. It immediately tells us, the readers, that this is an exclusive, fiercely protected domain. The crucial takeaway here is that this isn't just a body of water. It's a pristine, wonderfully romantic, sensory paradise. The text describes the water as ambrosial, cool, clear, and light. You literally won't even find mud on its banks. Instead, the surface is blanketed in celestial lilies and those golden lotuses. You've got swans and water birds swimming through, scattering fresh pollen into the air, all under the wide-spreading shade of endless trees and creepers. It is such a welcoming oasis that our hero, Bhimasena, the second he sees it, is absolutely delighted and immediately stops to drink profusely. Moving right along to Section 2, Denizens of the Divine Realm. Because let's be real, a place this beautiful doesn't stay a secret for long. It naturally attracts a crowd, but it's a very specifically divided crowd. On one side of the spectrum, you have your peaceful visitors. These are the celestial musicians, the sages, the spirits, who just want to enjoy the lake for its joy and spiritual significance. But then, on the exact opposite side, you have Kuvera, the king of the Rakshasas, who actually owns the place, and under his strict mandate, there's a highly militarized presence holding down the fort. The contrast is super sharp. It's essentially this cosmic nature reserve that requires a heavy military occupation just to remain pristine. And we are talking hundreds and thousands. That is the massive number of guards stationed at this seemingly serene lake, right there in the text. I want you to really picture that for a second. You have these elegant swans scattering pollen, golden lotuses swaying in the gentle breeze, and standing right on the edge of all this perfect tranquility are hundreds of thousands of armed guards. It establishes this baseline of immense underlying tension. The beauty is fragile, heavily guarded, and entirely unforgiving to trespassers. Now, understanding exactly who these guards are is absolutely essential for grasping just how dangerous the situation is. The text calls them the Krodhavasas, and these aren't just random, chaotic monsters roaming the woods. They're a formalized, regimented military force. The source explicitly notes that they're wearing uniforms and they're armed with various weapons. They operate under a clear mandate from King Kuvera, so we're dealing with a disciplined, professional, demonic military tasked with one single job, keeping intruders out. Which brings us to Section 3, the intruder in deerskins. The calm before the storm just completely shatters when a solitary hero, Bhimasena, who the text describes as having dreadful prowess, steps right into this highly restricted zone. And he presents a fascinating visual contradiction which perfectly explains why these Krodhavasa guards are so instantly confused and alarmed. On one hand, he's wearing deerskins, which is the traditional outfit of a peaceful, wandering ascetic, someone who has sworn off worldly violence entirely. But on the other hand, he's sporting heavy golden armlets, he's fully equipped with weapons, and he literally has a sword strapped to his waist. He is a walking paradox. Actually, scratch that. It's more like absolute peace and absolute war crashing together in one person. So what does he do when he's faced with an army of hundreds of thousands of uniformed demons? He ignores them. I mean, despite this massive, threatening army, the text says Bhimasena is fearlessly proceeding with the sole view of gathering the lotus. He boldly and unapologetically marches right toward his goal to take the sacred flowers. The sheer audacity of this guy is exactly what triggers the inevitable clash. And that leads us to Section 4, the Rakshasa confrontation. Okay, we've set the stage. The beautiful lake, the massive army, the unbelievably bold intruder. Now we hit the rapid, staccato climax of the excerpt, where the tactical interception finally goes down. First, Bhima makes his fearless move for the lotus. Second, the Rakshasas spot him. Third, and this is interesting, they don't just mindlessly attack. Instead, they shout to one another, coordinating their response to figure out what his errand could possibly be. And fourth, they physically approach and surround him. You can really feel the narrative pace just slam on the gas pedal here as the guards spring into coordinated military action. You can almost hear the sheer confusion in their voices as they close the net around him. The guards explicitly call out the exact visual irony we were just talking about. They confront him directly about his deceptive appearance, pointing out the deer skins versus the sword. It shows they are disciplined enough to at least ask questions before striking, trying to solve the puzzle of a man dressed like a monk but armed like an assassin. And we end on this brilliant, unresolved demand from the Rakshasas. Who art thou? Do thou unfold unto us the object with which thou hast come. It is the ultimate standoff question. Just think about it. One man, surrounded by hundreds of thousands of armed guards, standing right at the edge of a divine lake of golden lotuses. It leaves us all with a pretty fantastic, provocative question to chew on. When you are entirely surrounded, completely outnumbered, and caught red-handed reaching for a king's treasure, how on earth does a disguised warrior of dreadful prowess possibly answer down the barrel of an entire army? It's an incredible cliffhanger, and it practically begs you to dive into the rest of the source text to see what happens next.